Hey folks, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review of another Mission Impossible film. And I'm going to keep doing this in front of each of these in case people ask. I really enjoyed the first film, I liked the third film, and I liked the fifth one. I enjoy these three movies. The one I do not like and I hate the most is the fourth one, Ghost Protocol. But I'll get to why when I get to that video. Then you get to this one, Mission Impossible 2, which I'm not much a fan of. I watched this over Ghost Protocol, but I gave this another shot. I'm still not much of a fan of this. There's some nice elements. There's some nice action in the third act, where it's the John Woo, Tom Cruise with the sunglasses, black trench coat, motorcycle, and he's doing like the dive and shooting. He shoots a car that hits and blows up. He goes headlong with Doug Ray Scott. They both hit each other with the motorcycles. I give credit where credit's due. Tom Cruise doing the stunt work, climbing the mountains as if it's cliffhanger when we first see him, or at the end when he's fighting Doug Ray Scott, and some of the moves he does. And you see with the slow-mo, it is Tom Cruise doing sort of this sort of cartwheel kick, and you're doing this big, I don't know what you call it, lunge kick that hits Doug Ray Scott in the face, knocks him almost the fuck out. And I don't know if wire work was helped with that. I don't know if he knew how to do that, studied it, or if wire work was involved. I'm not sure. I don't remember them doing too. I didn't watch too much of the features. Probably answering that. But still, either way, I give credit where credit's due to Tom Cruise. Ving Rhames, he's in it. Nice to see him back. Tandy Newton, very nice on the eyes, and she does fine the acting as I guess you call the love interest in the movie. But she's also she's fit into the plot because Tom Cruise has to befriend her, and then they go to bed with each other. But there's also another reason. She knew she was the ex of the villain, and it's like, hey, you gotta go and pretend to be with them to get inside information. Anthony Hopkins makes an appearance in the movie, and got some good reviews. Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up. That's funny. You don't give Hard Target or Broken Arrow a thumbs up, but you gave this film a thumbs up. Okay. Tom Cruise is not the problem. Some of the action scenes are not the problem. The score, you have Metallica, who did a song called I Disappear, and then some of the score, at least the Mission Impossible theme, I believe done by Limp Bizkit. I would say the version they did, the cover they did of the theme, is my favorite version of the Mission Impossible theme. That's the and you can find it on YouTube. I always enjoyed that ever since I saw it. So I do try to do some of the music. Yeah, I still have that John Woo style and some bits of the action scenes. It's just the pacing is. This time for a guy that likes those other Mission Impossible films I mentioned. At times I thought the pacing was a bit boring. I thought the story wasn't too interesting with Chimera, this disease, and then this cure, and the bad guy used to work with IMF, but now he wants it for himself. One person has the cure, one person has the virus. Has to get to both of them. Just the story wasn't that interesting. The villain, I thought, was lame. Doug Ray Scott, I've never been a fan of this actor. Nothing personal, just this guy was supposed to be Wolverine. For those who don't remember the story, this came in 2000, the same as X-Men. Now, Doug Ray Scott was supposed to finish this movie and do X-Men, but this film went too long, so they had to find another person, which was the smartest decision they ever made, because Hugh Jackman, he did a great job as Wolverine. I cannot see this guy as Wolverine, Doug Ray Scott. No. He would have been a shitty Wolverine. Because of all the films I've seen him in, there's not one bit that made me think he would be a good Wolverine. I'm sorry. And I thought he was just a lame villain. And also sometimes with Tom Cruise when he's doing the action, I'm like, this will sound stupid, but I get the feeling he's trying too hard to be Chow Yun-Fat. Like he saw Chow Yun-Fat, he's like, I want to be Chow Yun-Fat. And like, I like Tom Cruise, I like him in action films, but I don't see him in that style. Weirdly enough, I did buy Christian Slater more in Broken Arrow or Van Damme and Hard Target, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Or, of course, Chow Yun-Fat, The Killer, Hard Boiled. But here, you got the PG-13, Not Helping Matters. And this different guy with John Woo films, like my favorite John Woo film is Hard Target. There's Broken Arrow, Hard Boiled, I love those movies, I reviewed those films. The Killer I enjoy. Wind Talkers I thought sucked, I didn't review that because I didn't want to. I haven't seen John Woo's recent films like Red Cliff and so forth. I'm one of the guys that likes Paycheck. I know. I did not get Paycheck to say that. I sincerely like Paycheck. Because at least that one... Okay, John Woo's doing something different. It's a sci-fi thriller. I like Ben Affleck. I like the story with the items and seeing into the future and pre-planning your destiny. I really like the story of that. I got that John Woo was trying to do something out of his comfort zone. And I appreciated that. And I think that's an underrated movie. Sci-fi thriller. It has some nice action bits, but it's a sci-fi thriller. Here is like John Woo... not Woo. John Woo is trying to have his cake and eat it too. That's what I felt. It was... I know I didn't mention Face Off. I reviewed Face Off. I'm in the middle of Face Off. I like it more than this, but I'm in the middle of Face Off. My three favorite John Woo films in case people is Hard Target, Broken Arrow, and Hard Boiled. Hard Target, Van Damme. I reviewed the film for like an hour. It's one of my... probably my favorite film of all time, especially the uncut version and this fan edit I did of it. Broken Arrow, just very underrated film. And I like the underdog. I always go for the... Not always, but I usually go for the underdog. And Hard Boiled, just fantastic film. It's like it's trying to be that John Woo of those movies, but then it's gotta be PG-13 and Mission Impossible movie. And I just don't think the two worlds mesh well. The two styles mesh well. It's like, well, how much does it be that it's not a Mission Impossible film anymore? I did. It was trying to be different, but I think John Woo and Mission Impossible, I just don't think those two worlds mesh well. Now, if John Woo did an Expendables film, that would mesh better. But who knows, maybe it would mesh well if the story and the plot was more interesting. There's this love story between Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton that I just didn't give much a fuck about. I just thought, I didn't buy it. It's like, okay, they're in love very quickly. Because after this beginning where you set the bad guys and this plane crash, you have Tom Cruise mountain climbing. Give credit to Tom Cruise and the dangerous stunts and things he does in these movies. A lot of credit to Tom Cruise. Hats off to him. Anthony Hopkins says, hey, you gotta go meet this girl, Tandy Newton. And then you get this love story that I just didn't find interesting. I didn't really buy into. Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton looking at each other with this woman in the wet dress, spinning. And it looked off, as if, like, were they not in the same room as this woman in the dress? Like, they are in the wide shots, but, like, when it's doing the back and forth slow-mo, and you see, like, the dress flipping over, it just looked off. It looked, I don't want to say Photoshop, but it just, I don't know, I'm probably the only guy that feels that way. stops her from stealing something. Then you have the scene where they're chasing each other in cars and they collide and they spin in cars and then they make love. I'm like, okay, this is going real quick. And then I'm supposed to buy that they're so in love by the end of the movie. I just don't buy the romance. The actors didn't do a bad job. I just don't buy the romance. You have this very bland, boring, uninteresting villain. Doug Ray Stott, actor I don't really care about. This bland plot about this virus and Chimera, and Tom Cruise chatting with Tanya this horse race, and then this little thing where Brendan Gleeson, who's been in films like 28 Days Later and Lake Placid, he's a CEO who's going to see the bad guy. He gets kidnapped by Tom Cruise's crew in order to get some information from him. They make him think he has the virus, but he really doesn't. Tom Cruise goes into this place called Biosite to destroy this virus. Enters the building through this grate in the skydive, which, not as memorable as, say, Break Into Langley in the first film, directed by Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma is more of a fit for a Mission Impossible movie than a John Woo. And I love John Woo. I love a lot of his movies, but I just... Like the scenes that much, he goes in, drops down, and the suspense is, does the cable get in through the nick of time? And of course it does, so it's not really any suspense there. And the bad guys, the bad guy, he second-guessed Ethan Hunt, figured that he was going to do that. You get a little bit of action, sliding two-pistol bang-bang, shooting. Bad guys bring out Tandy Newton. She gets the last thing of the disease and jets herself so that, she can save Ethan. Like, you can't kill me because otherwise, your virus is fucked. Escapes. And that's where you get the third act. And he's got some nice bits. Tom Cruise sneaking in. He fights this guy, does sort of this flip, and lands with his leg, almost like a leg drop, and lands on the guy's stomach. This other thing where he does sort of this almost guile, Street Fighter 2 guile kick. I was ready for him to do Sonic Boom! He does that kick. Gets with the bad guys, tricks the main bad guy because he has one of those masks. Because I'm like, man, those masks, they must take very quickly to make, or he knew he would have that specific mask. Even Darkman needed some time to make the mask. But like, did he just have a supply of all the bad guys' masks just in case? Or is he able to make it in his pocket? Because there's this bad guy that has a gun on him, but Tom Cruise has enough time to get a grenade and put it underneath, and the guy's like, duh. Blows up, blows him back, and then Tom Cruise apparently, even though he has nothing on him, he has no bag that I saw. I guess in his pockets he just had, hey, let me have the strip. Okay, your voice. Okay, give me a mask of this guy. No, I'm gonna put on your face, and then I have a mask of me. What does he carry it in his pocket? Is it the mask prints out in his fucking pocket? So makes him think, which is kind of a scene straight out of Darkman, now that I think about it. I mean, yeah, you had the fake mask thing in the first movie, I understand that. But just the setup, where he thinks it's one guy, but it's really a guy duct tape, so that's why he can't speak. It is straight out of Darkman, that one bit. Bad guy doesn't realize it until he takes the mask off, and the guy he shot was really his henchman with duct tape, and who he thought was his henchman escaped with the last thing he needed, the cure, and then takes his mask off. I'm like, he carried nothing with him. How the fuck did he have this stuff? Again, did he know it'd be that bad guy? And that one henchman, let me make sure I have his mask, and let me make sure I have a mask of me, my face, in my pockets. What, does he have the Batman utility belt? I know I'm nitpicking in a movie that's not meant to be realistic, but I just found that funny. Like, what the fuck? Like, where the hell did that come from? And I was like, really? It's like this one bit in Ghost Protocol where, um, I'll mention that briefly, where Tom Cruise has to drive the car and it goes like all the way down. But thankfully that one little airbag saves him. I'm like, come on. It's like, I know these movies are not realistic. I know that. There's plenty of movies I've seen that are not realistic in the fucking slightest. And you buy into it, you're not. And a lot of the bullshit in this movie I buy into as well. You know, the two people, Tom Cruise bad guy colliding on the motorcycle, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a lot of the crazy stuff. Hell, the end of the first movie I love. When the explosion, he flies off onto the train. I love it. Escapism fun. But I don't know, even for me, a lover, escapism fun, there's just... And that's when you realize, or at least I speak for myself, I realize, okay, I'm not really that much into the film if I'm complaining about stuff like that. And the reason I'm not really into the film and complain about certain stuff like that, or like in Ghost Protocol, of the 5 films, those are 2 movies that I found the plots to be boring, the villains to be... And I know the villain in Ghost Protocol, he's the same guy who was the villain in John Wick. And the guy unfortunately passed away. But much better in John Wick. It was a better script, better dialogue, more personality. I'll get to that when I talk about Ghost Protocol. Same with it. The villain was boring. The plot was boring. Some decent bits of action when he escapes and does the shooting. Does this turn with the motorcycle. Or when people are coming at him and he dodges. And it's one of those dodges where you're on the side of the motorcycle but still riding it. Of course, I want to see stuff like... If I want to see motorcycle in a John Woo film, I'll watch Hard Target. Especially the uncut version. The work print version. But that's what I mean. It's sort of John Woo wanted to have his cake and eat it too. But, hampered by a PG-13 rating. And I just don't see Tom Cruise in that kind of action role. And I like Tom Cruise, but I thought he was better fit in these Mission Impossible films. And the kind of action he was doing, and not the trying to wannabe Chow Yun-Fat thing. At least that's how I saw it. And I know people, but you like Broken Arrow. Well, I like Broken Arrow. I got more into Broken Arrow. I reviewed it. You want to know why? Check out the review of that movie. But this... Doing some nice action bits, fights the bad guy, some nice moves by Tom, like the car reel and the lunge kick, fucks up the bad guy. Ving Rhames gets to blow up a car from the helicopter he's in. They get to Tandy Newton, she's fine, still don't buy the romance, the movie's over. So, overall, not a big fan of the movie. I don't repeat myself, but the reason I repeat myself all the time is because sometimes people still like, why don't you like the movie? Or why do you like this movie? Well, I repeat it like 15 times. Which of the 15 times did you miss out? But to finish it up, I don't mind pieces of the score and music. Like the cover of the theme by Limp Bizkit. I can barely say that name. Limp Bizkit. Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, Tandy Newton, they did fine. Anthony Hopkins, he's in the film for like one scene. He did fine for his one scene. Can't remember if he's in any other scenes. If so, I forgot about him. The little bits of action in the third act are fine. But the romance I didn't buy. The love story I didn't buy. The plot with the virus I thought was uninteresting and bland. The villain I thought was pretty lame. Dougray Scott, not a big fan of this actor. At times, Tom Cruise trying too hard to be Chow Yun-Fat or trying too hard to be that kind of guy. Which I just don't see the Ethan Hunt character or Tom Cruise as that kind of guy. For action scenes. And at time I thought the film was a slog to sit through. Not as much as Ghost Protocol, which to me that's the worst Mission Impossible film, but yeah, not a big fan of this movie. But that's just my opinion. But either way, I gave it another shot. I tried. I couldn't get into it. But thanks for watching. Take care. And we will see you in the next one, which, to me, was a big improvement. Mission Impossible 3. The only J.J. Abrams film that he directed that I like. And yes, I will say, when I do the review of this, the only film J.J. Abrams directed that I like. The only one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.